players here, and we'll see what happens as we move into game number 2. As you can see, these decks have changed, and it is going to be still, of course, Warriors. We are playing the specialist format, but they have moved on to second and tertiary decks, and it means that there's Baleful Bankers and Elysianas for both players. But what does it mean for the other cards? Because Surrenders, especially tech cards, are very, very interesting to me for Warrior.
Right, so Surrender and FroStee have taken a couple of different approaches to what they want in their anti-warrior decks. So as Raven pointed out, both of them now have a copy of Archivist Elysiana and a Baleful Banker, but Surrender now has a Grommash, Hellscream, and an Alexstrasza. 2 extra threats. One can cause a lot of burst damage. Obviously, 10 charging damage from Grommash is nothing to scoff at, but Alexstrasza, as well importantly, just takes off 15 of your opponent's health if they were at full before.
Yeah, and also has a small, kind of 3 extra effects, because the Sephorian Bomber as well is just one additional bomb generation that FroStee does not have, so that's just 1 extra bomb. And also just a note as well, the Alexstrasza can sometimes be used defensive to peel you away from, like 1 or 2 bomb lethal potential as well. So we'll see what happens here, but FroStee now going for the coin into the Augmented Elic, just to mirror a play that Surrender made in the previous game, and now just trying to get some board control himself.
Right, FroStee taking good control of the board, obviously with the Clockwork Goblin to follow up. You put yourself in position with the Elic where you can kill your opponent's Clockwork Goblin and develop your own, shuffling the extra bomb in. Surrender having both Militia Commanders again, similar to last game. So I'm expecting that to probably come down, clean up the... Ooh, the Wrench Caliber, maybe he'll take a different direction this way. The Wrench Caliber sets up, obviously, the weapon swing now, and you have another weapon swing stored for later. The Militia Commander would leave a 2-2 on board if he uses that instead. I'm expecting the Wrench Caliber to come down.
Yeah, just to get it down and active, and also create the question for FroStee. Is a turn before Harrison Jones would be available anyway, so the Wrench Caliber's second swing is safe 100% of the... Okay, not 100% of the time, as Weapons Project can beat it, as we saw. You know what? Weapons Project is always a card that just leaves my mind, and I don't know why. I always forget about it. But yeah, it's going to be taken away, so -1 bomb, effectively. But still not the end of the world, because Surrender did, save a minion instead. And now this is one of those opportunities where we can say, oh, hey, that Town Cry kind of sucks.
Yeah. This doesn't happen too frequently, but I find it a lot easier to get 2 Town Crier values off when you run 4 rush rush minions. We've seen players in the past run Darius Crowley as the 4th rush minion. That just gives you a bit of an extra wiggle room to work with if you happen to draw a couple of rush minions early, as Surrender has this game.
Okay, so a bit of a slow moment now, and I'm going to oversimplify this question and this statement, I guess, but with the addition of Elysiana, does the matchup become a lot more, I'm just going to play all of my stuff, in a timely fashion, because then I'll Elysiana, we'll do the banker thing, and then carry on. So are players more sort of free with their resources in this matchup because of Elysiana, is my main question.
Depends how they would choose to play it. I mean, it's
would
hard to
you
say.
be?
Would I be? I would still have to say it depends on the situation.
Okay.
It's not quite that clear cut. We see Surrender holding back with Militia Commanders. Obviously, you could just play them for 4 mana now, have a 2/5 on board, but he's thinking, all right, well, I actually want to get a value out of these now. I tried to be a bit aggressive early on. Didn't quite work out. FroStee had enough resources this game to actually just fight back, and now the board's just even, so there's no point in just throwing stuff out there without getting the full use out of it. Also, it could just play into FroStee's Dynomatic, say. But with FroStee like 36 health now, there's no reason for Surrender to just, go crazy aggressive. He'll now go out for a longer game plan.
Yeah, just a small note though as well, the Dynamatics are actually removed from FroStee's secondary list, which is what he's playing now. So mainly because they just
He cut 1, but yeah.
I thought he cut 2. He's playing secondary, right?
Oh, he did, yeah.
It's so we're getting confused, guys, because they're both the counter warrior decks, but Surrender's is his tertiary deck and FroStee's is his secondary deck, so it's very easy to mix them up. But yeah, I mean, it's still a good point though, right? Because he's just actually just valuing the full potential of the card as opposed to just getting it down there and hoping. Yeah.
So with 2 bombs in the deck, FroStee says this is good enough to just Blastmaster Boom.
Seems reasonable to me. I don't think, especially with no bombs in his hand to actually play into Surrender.
Right.
You're not gonna wait, right? For a 7/7
No.
and 4 bombs. It's not. Oh, I wish I had 2 more. I'm sure it would be great, but you want to just keep the pressure on if you can.
You make the best play you can this turn, and I think you did. It might have been a different story if there were no bombs in the deck. I don't know if we'd see it come down as a 7/7, but I think with 2 bombs in the deck, Frosty's pretty happy, just saying, all right, 4 boom bots, good enough.
Every bomb you put in the deck, obviously up to 3, it becomes much better to play, right? Significantly better.
Right. So we can see a bit of an upgrade from the old Dr. Boom, where it only summoned 2 boom bots.
But it always summoned 2 boom bots. You didn't have to put bomb cards in your deck. And it was neutral. You could put it in every deck.
Oh. Last time I checked, that wasn't an Azure Drake. Okay, no Warpaths to clean up these boom bots. Surrender gonna throw out a militia commander to start cleaning them up.
A pretty good minion, though, I'd say, as a boom bot cleaning unit.
It's pretty heavy, 5 health.
Yep. And the attack is more than enough to start proccing them off. Obviously, they've only got 1 health. So
yep.
Seems good. FroStee now probably just thinking about... He could Ziliax and go in with the 2/4, but he might consider holding Ziliax because Surrender is playing Alexstrasza, which means you might get value from the Ziliax later to... Again, the problem is Alexstrasza puts you to a multiple of 5, which is bomb death in some instances.
Depending on the armor, but yeah.
Yeah. So just as a core health, because you'd imagine throughout the game the armor constantly gets chipped. So yes, obviously armor can make a difference, but the Ziliax is just a guaranteed. Well, if you play Alexstrasza, that's your whole turn. There's always a minion for Ziliax to run into because Alexstrasza will do a thing. And there's a big nod from FroStee. He's like, yep, okay, you Alexstrasa'd, and now there are options. He can do the Ziliax that he wanted to do, but he also had Boom. But I actually think FroStee was fully prepared for this scenario.
Yeah. He knew what he was setting up for. Also, playing the Ziliax and Boombot would leave it at a low 3 health point, which would be easy for Stern to clean up if he had, say, a Wrench Caliber.
But now, this is often a similar shape of minion you see in the mirrors that are even generated as well, because when you stick Ziliax onto something, it goes from both players kind of fighting with their little mech noodles sort of thing. But suddenly when you can just attach Ziliax and magnetize stuff, one massive minion outside of a Devastator is actually quite difficult to deal with.
Yeah, especially if the armor has been chipped off from like back and forth brawling. I mean, Surrender fortunately does have an Omega Devastator that he drew this turn, and he also discovered another one from the Omega Assembly. So he does have answers for this. He's just trying to figure out how he wants to use his resources here.
Yeah. The War Gear is actually a pretty big deal too.
Yeah, being able to make, like you said, being able to make big minions is a big deal.
Like, Surrender could really only answer that because he had a Devastator.
Right.
Outside of that, there's... No one's really running executes. The shield slams are limited and dependent on armor, of course. So yeah, I mean, this War Gear is going to be a big deal. I think there's a shield slam though, so that will help a lot.
Starting off with Omega Assembly, seeing what's in the box. Could have also taken the turn to go shield slam Dr. Boom and then see what the hero power pops up, but he wants to see what's in the Omega Assembly first. Maybe it helps him deal with the board.
Those suck.
Not great. Dynomatic, it's often a 5-mana 3/4. Most of the minions that are being played back and forth are mechs. Not all of them, of course. We still have some Militia Commanders, Elix, and stuff like that. But eventually in the late game, when a lot of discovered things are just mechs, the Dynomatic just becomes an expensive 3/4.
I think the biggest thing for Dynomatic in terms of discovered going forward is if and when it gets to Elysiana, the average minion you will discover isn't a mech, right? Just roughly. So late game it can do some work, but if you're holding a card for that long, it's just a 5-drop, then you effectively -1 card in hand for a long time.
FroStee chooses not to shield slam here. He did go aggressive earlier this game with a shield slam, didn't he? Or was that last game?
I think it was last game. I think
game.
he still got 2.
Okay.
I could very easily be wrong.
Well, and this actually kind of lends to something else. We see that switching to these other decks, kind of primed for the mirror, that the way they're using the resources is a little bit different, right? If it was the primary list where neither player has Elysiana and you're not going to late game, perhaps just using a shield slam here to just get stuff off the board is better, but FroStee's saying, all right, I'll try to find another way to deal with this and perhaps use the Shield Slam for a bigger threat later on.
Yeah, and most importantly as well, just a small note that we've not mentioned yet, the players are allowed and can and almost certainly will be using deck trackers, so they will be aware of the removal that's left, unlike us. So you know, Surrender will know how many Shield Slams are left. Can I go big? Do I need to go big? And if I do, what are the punishes? How many Devastators have been used? How many cards in hand are summoned or generated mechs, like the Omega Assembly there? Oh, just a bit of a really pulled out the shield block there to just freeze for a second, but the Sephorian Bomber is that extra bomb we talked about, and also an extra threat as well, just a 5/5 on the board, just not too shabby.
Surrender knowing that what's important now is chipping off armor, so that Shield Slam is more difficult to use, and with a bomb being drawn, 4 armor is still enough to remove an Omega Devastator, but not much else.
The problem now is, outside of a couple of cards, Elysiana. Oh yeah, not bad.
Came in handy.
Wow. Nod from Surrender, just expecting it. But FroStee's hand is big, but not threatening a lot of the time. Like, this was an amazing turn, but if you look at the rest, there's an answer with Omega Devastator, but then Warpath, Brawl, Acolyte of Pain, and the Lumi is not the most effective cards in this matchup, I'll say.
Right. Interestingly, I wouldn't be surprised to see FroStee hold back on the Acolyte. Since we are now on match point, if there is a tie, it does go to... oh no, it's not game 3. So if there's a tie now, both players receive a win, and FroStee comes out on top. So it's in his best interest to draw as little as possible, because if he can't, sure, he's going to try to win the game, but if it comes to a point where it's a little bit of a stalemate, it's better for FroStee to just say, all right,
let's go to turn timer.
Yeah, let's go to turn timer. Yeah. Obviously, great turn coming out from FroStee, full mana utilization, cleared up the board completely, and now he has board himself. Surrender without Dr. Boom needs to figure out how he wants to navigate around FroStee's threats right now.
FroStee getting himself comfortable.
Yep. Where does Pillow go?
He's using it.
Oh, is it?
Let's just put it behind his head.
I thought it was just part of the backdrop.
No. Okay, so there's the big Ziliax.
Getting some heal value. Knows that FroStee doesn't have enough armor right now to Shield Slam. Obviously, he could still Shield Slam with the hero power, but that's some extra resources being invested into clearing the Ziliax. Obviously, we can see that an Omega Devastator could come down here instead if he chooses to save the Shield Slam for later.
I think he probably should go for the Shield Slam, at least in my opinion, because the trades with the mechs that you could summon or the Boombot wouldn't matter, because Surrender's only on 29 anyway, so he's only going to get a heal for 1. Oh, yeah. He'll only get healed for 1 anyway, so I think using the Shield Slam might have been a little bit better there.
I don't know if I agree.
Well, I feel like this gives Surrender a use for the Brawl.
There's only 1 copy of Brawl. Sometimes you have it, but I think FroStee's trying to push the fact that he has the Dr. Boom and saying, all right, I'm going to fight for tempo now. If you don't have Dr. Boom and you're not generating resources, fine, but I'm going to make you start using the resources you have. You have the Brawl? Okay, unfortunate. And also, setting the Omega Devastator at 6 health there, actually using the Faithful Lumi for something relevant. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. But pushing the Omega Devastator at 6 health last turn by FroStee means it's out of range of 5 Warpaths, which cost 10 mana. So this Omega Devastator, unfortunately for FroStee, did win the Brawl, but I think FroStee was just saying, all right, let's just play around Warpath and try to push the board this way.
Yeah, the worry for me is if that removal's there, FroStee has like 0 follow-up next turn, outside of the next card he draws. Like, his next turn is horrible. And I doubt on, 14 to 13 cards, he's going to just slam Elysiana Banker and go, And look at this, it's going to have to be Acolyte of Pain. I'm guessing he's going to rip the Warpath. Go draw something.
Warpath twice and then hero power the Mega Devastator. So it looks like FroStee might not be trying to. Actually,
I think he had to do this.
Yeah, to try and clean up.
Even if he didn't want to, because most importantly, his turn would have been hero power pass, which Surrender's got a mech on the board, and Surrender's been overall playing a bit more aggressive in this game anyway. So I think you just have to draw.
I think also with 3 extra draws.
4 bombs.
Yeah, 4 bombs are starting.
Let's go.
Those will add up. I think with the 3 extra draws from the Acolyte, you can still make it to the turn timer without too much.
Probably, yeah.
Without too many problems. So I think FroStee's just saying, all right, well, I need to use my mana this turn and push my advantage more. Surrender found a great turn to shuffle 4 bombs in. FroStee does have the delivery drone hero power available to discover something. but he's going to want to, A, probably get rid of the Elec, and B, hopefully get rid of the Clockwork Goblin as well. He's on 23 health. It's not, you know, close to dying just yet, but a couple of bombs later, that could wind up.
Yeah, just to note as well, that Warpath in hand, ready to go for when Grom is drawn, which is going to be 10 from hand. Suddenly, 2 bombs, one swing of this weapon, and a Grom is just lethal, actually, and there are a lot of bombs in the deck now for FroStee. I think it's so difficult. There are so many bombs in the deck, but FroStee is just too early to Elysiana to wipe them all.
Oh, no, I don't think you're concerned about that quite yet.
But he might die, right?
He could.
Like, 1 Grom and he's dead. Like, not all the time, but
FroStee's hoping he doesn't
some
drop
of the
4
time.
bombs here.
But this is what I mean, right? He's on what? 6 bombs, I think now.
Right.
And it's like maybe more.
I think it might be 5. But sure, he has enough that he could die.
Was Surrender really disappointed he didn't die? Then he looked a bit like, oh, I got 1. Why couldn't I got 4?
Okay, with the Blast Shield Hero Power, Frost will be able to tank up out of a few extra bomb ranges. He decides he needs to go on the Elysiana. I actually like this a lot. FroStee has quite a bit of card advantage, and he also has the other Elec and the Omega Assembly. So he probably just has enough value to get there, get Surrender. He's saying, all right, I don't want to give you any chance to just blow me out of the game with these bombs. There's like 4 or 5 in my deck. Let's get those out.
This is what I mean, though, right? Because FroStee's in a great position in his hand size. He does lose in the Elysiana war, so to speak. But the problem is, he could just die. He could just lose the game. And, you know, for want of just playing maybe a little bit faster with more resources. There's Blastmaster.
The Blastmaster. Surrender shake of the head. He knows there's no bombs in there now. I think this was a great play by FroStee. And he chooses to shuffle the Elysiana in instead of getting the Blast Shield value, just because he knows the most damage Surrender could do right now would be a Grom, Warpath, plus the Dynamax, which would be 13. And he has the shield block in hand with no bombs in deck to gain some armor back if that were to happen. Difficult turn from Surrender here. Are we at the point where we have to play the Blastmaster Boom just for tempo? There's a 7/7 across the board facing us. Maybe we just take the turn of Warpath, say, okay, we can't use this for Grom anymore. Yeah.
Also a big note. Let's just rewind back into game number 1. Just something we didn't talk about too much. FroStee doesn't play Omega Assemblies in his primary list, right? So that is bad versus a mirror when your opponent does play it, right? So he won, I will say, like an unfavored matchup because of mainly that. Like Acolyte versus Omega Assembly. Well, I'd rather have the Omega, right? So he won that matchup due to a blunder by Surrender. And now he's got those back in. He's been in the position of 1, drawing Dr. Boom Mad Genius, of course, helps massively. But also that Elysiana cutting off the plan for Surrender to say, I'm going to shuffle so many bombs in that you might just die, along with a potential Grom threat. And now, like, FroStee off the back of this might just take it. And Surrender's nodding. He's like, well, what do? I have a Blastmaster Boom that's just a War Golem, effectively. And then, great, I can shuffle another Boom in. Who cares? Do I want another War Golem in my deck? It's 1 more card that puts him potentially further away from his own Boom Mad Genius.
Yeah, the only thing Surrender has going for him now is that he's got enough health to work with for a few turns where he's not going to just die to FroStee's, quote, pressure, just the Elec on the board. But eventually, FroStee's going to start developing threats.
I mean, already, look at this with the... oh, what's it called? What's the 10-drop called?
You can do it.
I can't.
The Boom Reaver.
Boom Reaver. I know it was the Boom something. I was just going to pick a random word, like the Boom Snail. And now, FroStee might end up taking this win with a Grom, even though Surrender has it in his main deck.
Despair. Destruction.
Oh yeah, he got EMP operative. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's sick in this matchup.
The Boom Reaver is kind of funny. He gives your opponent some information. Not that it's that relevant right now, but...
He knows there's another EMP in
he knows there's 2. It summons a copy. The Boom Reaver summons a copy, not pulls them back.
Oh, right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? I have not played with Boom Reaver that much. I genuinely did not realize.
You got to play some Big Warrior, man.
No. It's Warrior. I only play Warrior when I absolutely have to, or it's Pirate or Dragon.
Okay, all right. Surrender going for the Harrison here.
Small Cron Elite.
Oh my goodness, FroStee got some good stuff of this artist.
And especially when you consider with Devastator, he can just Devastate a minion, Corcron Elite the other one, push 6.
He's seen
and
two
still
warpaths.
hero
Yeah,
power.
he's seen 2 warpaths and the brawl from Surrender. He can go as wide as he likes.
Yeah, I just like use Corcoran to just delete a minion. You don't want, again, it's getting more and more unlikely, but if I'm FroStee now, I don't want to just randomly die, you know, to something that you didn't foresee. So I like going for the removal side. I think I would have gone for the Devastator, but maybe it's saving a Devastator for the, you know, the one last big threat that Surrender might have.
Like Grom.
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, this is better. I completely forgot about the
the second half of
double
the Harvest
abilities deal 4 effectively, right? If you trade it off. There's a bomb, and suddenly Surrender's face kind of sums it up in this situation. He's just drawn a bomb. Now he's under threat of lethal, and Surrender just doesn't have Boom Mad Genius. He's not had it all game, whereas FroStee's locked it in ages ago. And already, yeah, the Grom gets a kill here, but who cares when there's an Omega Devastator?
This is game. Gromash Warpath gonna come out from FroStee. It's not even in his deck.
I know, and Surrender put it in his deck. Surrender's probably going to laugh, as he knows. Okay, maybe not. I don't blame him. This was a loss for the series, but, you know, the Grom went in, and Surrender has it in his deck. FroStee does not, and FroStee takes the Warrior Mirror in what I'm going to say is a relatively quick fashion. But again...
For Warrior Mirrors, yeah.
For